Okay, so welcome. Just to start off with, I appreciate y'all coming and joining us for this IB panel. If you could start with and tell me just a little about yourselves, like your name, your college, your year in college, your interest, and whether in high school at St. George's you were a full IB Diploma candidate or not, that would be great. So, does anybody want to start off? Jocelyn.
Hi, I'm Jocelyn. I'm a sophomore at LMU, and I just transferred there last semester. And I was a full IB candidate, and I'm studying health and human science with hopes of becoming an occupational therapist.
I can go next. I'm Catherine Moon. I'm a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania, studying economics and probably minoring in chemistry. I'm still very undecided in what I want to do with that. And I was also a full IB candidate.
I can go. So, hi, I'm Mia. I go to the University of San Diego, and I'm studying biology with a potential minor in chemistry. And I'm a sophomore as well in college, and I was also a full IB diploma candidate.
Hi, my name is Caleb Flagle. I go to Whitworth University, and I'm a sophomore there. I am currently going for a double major in computer science and computer engineering, and I was a full IB diploma candidate.
Marshall Roll, him. I go to McAllister College in St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm an applied math and statistics and environmental studies double major, and I'm a sophomore.
Cool. Thank you very much. So just as a reminder, we're not going to just be talking about your IB experience in high school, but also your experience as you transitioned into college and other endeavors like your summer experiences, etc. To start off with, I'm going to just remind everybody of what the St. George's mission and the IB mission was. So the St. George's mission statement is inspiring scholars, athletes, and artists to serve and lead others. I'm sure you've missed hearing that often. And then the IB mission, the International Baccalaureate aims to develop inquiring, knowledgeable, and caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world through intercultural understanding and respect. And just going to read a little bit more and then we'll delve into questions. So at the center of an international education in the IB are students with their own learning styles, strengths, and challenges. Students come to school with combinations of unique and shared patterns of value, knowledge, and experience of the world and their place in it. Promoting open communication based on understanding and respect, the IB encourages students to become active, compassionate, lifelong learners. And IB education is holistic in nature, is concerned with the whole person. Along with cognitive development, IB programs and qualifications address students' social, emotional, and physical well-being. They value and offer opportunities for students to become active and caring members of local, national, and global communities. They focus attention on the processes and the outcomes of internationally minded learning described in the learner profile. So the learner profile, I don't know if y'all remember, but is the IB's mission in action. It requires IB learners to be inquirers, knowledgeable, thinkers, communicators, principled, open-minded, caring, risk takers, balanced, and reflective. So just refreshing your memory on all that, backing up to high school, what are your initial thoughts in reflecting back to the upper school and your IB experience? Loaded, broad question.
I think for me, one thing about St. George's, aside from the IB, was the small class sizes, and I think as you're reading the mission of the IB and how it's a holistic approach about caring about each individual student as a person and all that, jazz. I think the small class sizes, like with like we really got to know our teachers, and they cared about us outside of class, especially because the teachers weren't just teaching one subject. They were also maybe like running the outdoor program, which you were also part of, or whatever. So in that way, that also reinforced that kind of holistic approach to knowing you more as a person than as a student.
I agree. I think it's definitely a unique experience. I still haven't met anybody else at Whitworth that has gotten an IB diploma. So there's definitely aspects of that are unique to me. I agree with Mia in that like having that small environment is really valuable, especially if you go to a small university, because you kind of like learn to utilize your professors and the options that are available to you. And like at least for me personally, that's like helped me like get a lot of like unique opportunities because I'm like able to approach my professors because of that experience at SGS.
Yeah, I think I agree with what me and Caleb have said. I think that the class sizes and the IB program and being able to interact with our professors and just having like that tight-knit community is something that really helped St. George's like pursue all of those things that you were just talking about in terms of its mission. And then with the IB specifically, I would say like going to school on the East Coast, that helped me feel sort of on like a similar playing field to other students who might be coming from like bigger prep schools on like in like New York or something. So just knowing that they also had like the IB, like a lot of them also had AP, but I've met like probably half and half like had IB. And so that just made me realize that I have like a similar level of education and gave me sort of more confidence going into it.
Cool.
Going off that, I think there were a lot of like unique experiences we got to experience in high school. For example, like different field trips and like the teachers getting a close like personal connection with us allowed us to have different opportunities, and they would help us with like college prep things and just like life things in general because they got a personal connection with us, which was really helpful.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think that one of the great things about St. George's is the close-knit relationships that you can build with the teachers and faculty. One other thing that I've found really useful about the IB was that it prepares you for writing in every different class. For every class, you have to do an IA or an internal assessment, which is like a longer written assignment that you work on over the course of the year. And I think that's something that I've had to do a lot in college, and doing those assignments has really prepared me well for that.
Cool. Thank you. Okay. Do you feel, so I'm just gonna, I took some words out of what I had read, and do you feel that in your junior and senior years, and I guess actually I feel that St. George's, we always taught similar, with the IB, now that we've labeled ourselves as an IB World School, we focus on, the focus is supposed to be on writing and critical thinking, and that's what we focus on. But I feel like St. George's always was doing that. It's just now that we've like coined it, this IB. So I guess I wouldn't just keep this into your junior and senior years, but do you feel like your education, I guess some of you touched on this, focused on you as a whole person while you were here? I know Mia said that more pointedly, but like, do the rest of you agree that like your education wasn't just about certain things, it's about your whole being?
Yeah, I feel like because the IB is like writing based more so than AP, you can actually express like what you've learned, and I think that it helps. You can like connect different ideas that you've learned into like your writing piece.
Yeah, I think that my experience during junior and senior year was definitely like well-rounded. And it's sort of like the IB was sort of mixed into like the other parts of St. George's that maybe existed before. So it's kind of hard for me to tell whether that was, coming from the IB or more St. George's, because I do think that a lot of it was having like those smaller class sizes and being able to get to know our teachers really well. But I think that the curriculum of the IB also really emphasizes like the student as a whole. So I think that was like really beneficial.
I'd agree with all that. I think there's a pretty good like balance between all aspects of schooling at SJS and with the IB. Like there's like a good balance between like athletics and arts and academics, at least in my experience, and like within the curriculum as well. Like you weren't just focused on one certain thing. There's a pretty good mix of different ideas and different styles and of learning and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know if I like was saying it very clearly, but like you're right, because of our small class sizes and how well the teachers know you and you're able to have those discussions, and we were already doing writing. That's why I've been here, before IB and then after IB, and I am the IB coordinator. So I'm also had two kids go through it and one kid not go through it, and I feel like St. George's was already doing those things naturally because of the way we're set up. And now we add more writing, and there's certain components that may be different within a class, but the focus was always the same, was I guess what I'm trying to say. And I think from middle school even, y'all probably got that. And, when you were in middle school, we were transitioning into the IB program, but yeah. Do you feel like your education focused you on being, because the IB focuses on active and caring members of a local, national, and global communities? What are your thoughts on that?
I think that the main way that the IB sort of tries to emphasize those things might be through like TOK and CAS, which I found like not to be as valuable as parts of the other like parts of the IB curriculum or the St. George's experience. I think that sort of working to become a good community member and a member of like the global society, like I think a lot more of the skills that I learned came less from the IB curriculum and more just from those like St. George's like interactions, if that makes sense, more so than from the curriculum itself.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Oh, your mic's on, Mia. Were you saying something? Or no, she's talking.
No,
Okay.
I was gonna say, like, I kind of have a different experience. Like, I came to St. George's as a sophomore in high school, so, and like to Spokane in general. I'd never lived on the West Coast because I came from the East Coast, and I don't feel like my time at St. George's was conducive to like me being a member of the Spokane community specifically, just because like again it's a small school and there's not a lot of opportunities to like branch out of that small community. So that's just like my experience, and I agree with what Catherine was saying. Like the IB does focus like in TOK and CAS on being a member of like this global society, just like having an elevated education on like philosophical musings or whatever, but just like locally, I don't think that was necessarily helpful to me.
Do you wish, jumping off of that, do you think that there is a platform for us to be better involved in our community, and that like there's the bandwidth is there?
I would say so. I don't really have any ideas on like how to do that, because again, like I only lived in Spokane for 3 years before I left for college, so I don't really like know the community that well to like have a say on that, I think.
Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I agree with Catherine. Like, doing CAS helped me engage with our community more because we did, I think it was about 10 different experiences, or maybe, no, it was like 18 different experiences. And so you would try like different sports, different service activities, and different like arts, which made me, I feel like it made me a more rounded person instead of just like focusing on the classes and studies. Like, we did things outside of the classroom.
I'll agree with that. Like CAS, but one thing I'll add to that is CAS and Chioke was more focused on like a SGS community rather than more of a greater Spokane community. And I think part of that is that the school is so isolated from the rest of Spokane. There's not as much opportunities to like go down the street and help out somewhere. So CAS definitely did end up being more of a, what did you do, like affiliated with SGS or like on your own time rather than like going out and like interacting with the Spokane community. So yeah.
Okay.
I would also,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I was just going to add really quickly. I think like St. George's does do a good job of like trying to get students into the Spokane community and like working on different volunteer projects. I don't know if that was, I think maybe I felt that a little bit more in middle school when we would go out like as a class and do these things together. But yeah, I guess I would agree that like socially and like in other aspects, it was hard to sort of impact the Spokane community.
No, that's great feedback. I mean, that's, yeah, and that's what we want to hear. So do you think your IB education accomplished what it says about the learner profile traits, that it wants you to be inquirers, knowledgeable, thinkers, communicators, principled, open-minded, caring, risk takers, balanced, and reflective? Do you, any of those jump out at you, or do you feel like, what do you think about those, using those adjectives to describe like your education? Do you feel connected with it or not connected with it?
For me, I feel pretty connected to those adjectives in terms of my education. I think that a lot of what I like, the most valuable things that I gained from the IB like experience and being at St. George's were these like intangible things that I could carry with me to college, not necessarily the curriculum that I learned. So I think like it did teach me to be a good thinker, to like, you know, be caring towards other students and be willing to like help others. And then I think that some of the aspects of maybe like CAS or even the curriculum caused us to, you know, like take risks, whether that was like in sports or arts or academics. So I think that, you know, a lot of what I gained from my high school experience does reflect a lot of those adjectives.
I think what you just said right there, kind of, I wrote it down because it was a lot of intangible things that, like, not exactly the curriculum. And I think that's what our whole goal is to teach you, and in our college prep at St. George's and with the IB curriculum in particular, but how we were even doing it before IB came to St. George's, is to teach you how to think, so that when you get to college, you're not necessarily going to remember what happened in 1492, but you're going to be able to take some passages and analyze them and take, you know, it's not going to be the same core knowledge that it's how to learn and how to think is that's our whole goal, and why we think we prepare you for college. And so that I like the way you said that, just that it was intangible. It wasn't necessarily the curriculum. Do y'all find that it's maybe the skills that you're transferring over and not necessarily the knowledge that's helping you in college?
Yeah, I agree completely. Like, as like a kind of more of a techie person, I don't really use like the stuff I learned in like IB English that much, but
Yeah.
Like stuff like, for example, like learning how to write a good reflection through CAS or something like that. that's super useful. And just like more like the writing or just like how to do stuff in general, I guess, like learning how to like write different essays or how like organize yourself or time management. Those are very useful in college. I think the IB definitely at least helped a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with Caleb on the time management piece a lot. Like, I think there's a lot to do in the IB. There's a lot of different parts. There's short-term stuff you have to worry about, and then long-term stuff that you need to be thinking about all the time. I think that's how a lot of my classes are in college, is I need to like be thinking about what's due tomorrow, but then also how to finish the essay that's due at the end of the semester or something like that. So I think the skills that I learned for how to deal with those sorts of things are really valuable.
Yeah, and I also, to add to all that was said, it's less about, the IB focuses less about memorization than, like, I've had some experience with AP or like a different school. It, like, that is just like you memorize it for the test, and then the test you just like spill all your knowledge back out. And the IB
That's
is
what I did in high school.
yeah, you just like keep it all, and then it's like a sponge, and then when you're drained, you don't remember it anymore. But I definitely think like it's less about memorization and more about just like techniques to learn and like to take a test rather than like just absorbing knowledge just to put out on the test. That being said, also, I don't think any of us took the IB tests because we had COVID our senior year, but so I don't even know if that was like what the tests were like, but with like the writing piece of the IB, it's more just about making connections rather than memorizing facts, I think.
Do you find, like my daughter, that when you got to college that you had a little bit easier time with papers and things like that than, or with, like you said, being able to make the connections with this because of the skills? Have you found that you have friends that seem that they're having a more challenging time, or do you not notice that, or do you, what are your experience with that?
I think it definitely helped me and prepared me for that. Also, one unique thing about the IB is like you kind of get to personalize the track that you're on. So in terms of like doubling up on taking science classes versus like history or like social science classes. And so personally, I mean, my major is biology. So in high school, I mean, again, my situation is unique, but just at St. George's alone, I took 2 years of biology and then 2 years of chemistry, or 3 years of chemistry, because we took it sophomore year as well.
Yeah.
And so that has like definitely not elevated me from my peers, but like helped a lot because it's way more recent. Like going in as a freshman in college, I had just gotten off like taking 2 years of biology like consecutively versus just like a semester or just 1 year, like freshman year or whatever, you know. So it was very like personalized. Like I knew I wanted to be in science, so I took more science classes, and that spanned over the course of the 2 years, junior and senior year, that I could take that knowledge and apply it to my college courses too.
Yeah, I would agree with that. On top of like the curriculum, like our classes were like really difficult and like time consuming. And I think like Caleb and Marshall mentioned time management earlier, which I think is like a really good benefit from my experience at St. George's was coming into college, where like the classes also are like very, very difficult and time consuming. And at least for me, I've found that my classes in college like are massive and you're doing a lot of the work just like on your own, rather than like having your teacher right there like we might have had in St. George's. But I did feel like I had the tools to sort of like deal with that successfully.
Jocelyn, we were just asking, or I was jumping off when Mia was talking about a lot of what she took to college was more intangible rather than like curricular, not, rather than focusing on the curricular knowledge transferring into college, it was more intangible things that, more of the skills and different. So that's what we were talking about. I was asking everybody else's experience with translating that into their college experience.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I learned a lot of critical thinking skills, and it wasn't so much just like straight memorization. It was like learning how and why. And that was really important in my classes. I'm taking a lot of science classes, and so they're like building on some of the concepts we learned, but it's more so using like the tools of how to learn and how to remember things in college, because like all of the classes are just building on each other. So it's really important to like really know the material. And I think that St. George's and the IB prepared me for that.
I agree as well. Like in a lot of ways, college almost feels easier than St. George's, in that like college classes, in my experience, are a bit different, and things like learning how to take notes like in an effective way, so you could like remember everything on the spot, or at least like easily study later. That helps a lot. And with, like Jocelyn said, the classes build off each other. So like having those skills that SGS teaches you and like is very helpful, and honestly makes my classes feel a little easier than at SGS, even though they might be like in an absolute way harder. But
that's good. That's the goal. Or not necessarily easier, but that you're prepared and you feel confident that you are not out of your element,
One other thing that I would add too is that because we have such small classes at St. George's, it lends itself really well to like speaking up in class and asking questions. And over time, that gave me a lot of confidence. And so now in college, I'm not like as worried about raising my hand to add to a discussion or to ask a question. And so I think that is another good part of St. George's education.
Okay. Let's see. What advice would you give to middle school or upper school students that you wished you had known before you tackled either the IB or any, just really their experience in as they're about to or preparing to go to college? Or just something you wish somebody had said to you in middle school or high school. I don't know. Just thought I'd throw it out there.
I guess one thing that I wish I knew was that you don't really have to have it all figured out. Like I went into college having absolutely no idea what I wanted to major in. I sort of just landed with 2 majors that I took some classes in and I thought were interesting. But when I was in high school, I felt like I had to have it all figured out. Like I needed to go in with a major, a plan, all of that. But, you can always change it. Plans are flexible. So don't worry too much about it. I guess the most important thing would just be to figure out what you really don't like. So then you don't have to take those classes in college.
True.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would also say to like really take the time to explore. Like maybe you'll find things that you don't like, but like for me personally, I think I sort of had this track in mind that I thought I was going to pursue, and then coming into college and getting new experiences with different like subjects and classes, like that was when I started exploring sort of these like different paths. So I'm still at a point where I don't exactly know what I want to do, but that's like still okay. So it's definitely okay if you're in middle or high school and don't know what you want to do. Yeah.
Not to bring up our daughter again, but Kate she went to Wake Forest, deciding she was going to be pre-med, and took her freshman seminar class and is pre-law now. So, and still kept her chemistry because she said, I got through orgo, and if I got that far, I was going to keep and just, but so she has a double major, but still, totally switch gears. Like you're right about keep open-minded, and you don't need to figure it all out in high school. It's just that's just about finding what you're passionate about or what you like and don't like you said.
I'd agree with everything said so far, and I'd add it's like going from middle to high school, it's a very stressful time. So try not to put like any undue stress on yourself. Like Marshall said, it's you totally don't have to have anything figured out at this point. And you could take that time to like get to know yourself and get to know your situation before really making like hard goals for yourself and like putting yourself under stress. Another thing I would add is like get used to like talking to your teachers and like getting to know people, because that becomes really useful down the line. And even early in high school, like it became very useful very quickly. And so just get to know people, establish those connections, and try not to stress too much.
Going off of that, like a great way, I think one really like one part of St. George's that I really valued was the clubs and like the after school activities and sports, because that was a really good way to get close to different people. And I think that was really important because then you have like a group of people who's like there to support you.
Yeah. Also, going off of that, like particularly regarding college admissions, I think throughout high school was like that was like my driving goal, like do all of these things for like my application, and like so that it would look good and like I'm a super well-rounded student and do all these clubs and all these sports and get straight A's and blah blah blah. But I think like in hindsight, I mean, something like maybe current juniors or seniors now might be interested in is like I learned that the college admissions look for a well-rounded student body, but not necessarily a well-rounded student. So like you don't have to have it all. With that being said, like it was a fun experience to do, like to try pretty much everything that St. George's had to offer. But I think that if I didn't want to do something because like looking back I wasn't super passionate about it, but I just like stuck with it because I wanted to put it on my application, like I shouldn't have done that, because it really like just do what you're passionate about and like what you're interested in, and then the rest will come. Like it just, you don't have to stress so much about being the perfect like well-rounded student.
Okay, does anybody have anything else just in general you want to add? Or I really appreciate you taking the time.
I can talk about like transferring schools. So after high school, I went to Azusa Pacific in California to do acrobatics and tumbling, because I like had the opportunity and I really enjoyed being on a sports team. Like it gave me like a family. But then after going there, I realized I didn't really like the school, and it was really hard for me to transfer schools. But it's always like I found a new group of people, and it's been a really good change for me. And so that's also something, is like even if you have your heart set on something, like you can still change like majors or schools, or like it's not like end all be all where you go.
I like that. I like that you have that you know yourself well enough to say, you know, this wasn't right for me and I'm okay with that and I'm gonna try something else.
Yeah, I would recommend just like taking advantage of the small community at St. George's. There are like plenty of alumni that I'm sure you can reach out to if you see that they're doing something cool that you're interested in. Like I know that a lot of people at St. George's are like really excited to talk with St. George's students or just like help out, even like current teachers or other like upperclassmen. Yeah, just like really utilizing your resources that you have while you're at St. George's.
Okay. Well, thank you all. I'm going to stop recording and then don't hang up yet. And then stop.